Hi folks, well, a bit of a bonus episode today. I'm out on a Saturday, which is a very rare thing for me, and the reason being is the forecast for the rest of this week is absolutely terrible. Rain every day. So I've come down to Offord, which is where I wanted to come last week, but the river was too high. But it's now settled down a bit. It's still tearing through, but I'm fishing the big pool by the car park, which is slacker water. And I have managed to catch a bream out of here on a couple of occasions. So I've come today with a feeder rod and a maggot feeder, and I'm hoping something will come along, but it's very much one of those days when whatever comes along will be very welcome. Anyway, it's a bit chilly, probably about 5 degrees at the moment, certainly very chilly, but very bright, and we'll see how we go. Yeah, I was going to go out in the week, but looking at the weather, it's absolutely appalling, or what's forecast is appalling. So shall we see how we get on? Right, this gives you a pretty good view of where I'm fishing, I think. Now the theory is, you can see the main river going down over there, and this is a sort of subsidiary flow which goes through this pool. You can see there's a weir in the distance there, but there's really not really much movement in this pool. So the theory is that any fish in that main flow will perhaps come in here to seek a bit of refuge, and on one occasion I did fish here and I caught a bream, over 4 pounds. It was a nice fish, but I hadn't come with the intention of fishing here. I relocated here because everywhere else was just coming down too much. So I've come back today with the express intention of fishing here. I'm not going to fish too far out because there's a reed bed that goes right across out there. You can see the remnants of it, so I won't go out that far. So I'll just level with or past the overhang of the tree perhaps, and I've catapulted some maggots out there which have obviously spread themselves quite thinly, but I've got a maggot feeder on the rod. We'll work our way down. It's all very muddy and incredibly slippery here today. So I've got my corum rod, which I usually use for chub really, but it's a multi-feeder rod, so as we're feeder fishing, it's sort of, yeah, I've got my corum multi-feeder rod. Just pull a bit of line out. I've had it quite a few years really. Line's all got in a tangle. No, that's all right. And I've got a Shimano ST 2500. I think that says FB bait runner. Don't need a bait runner, but I find it easier with a bait runner reel because you can pull off line easier. So at the business end, I've got a small maggot feeder and 6 pound line through to the end. I've got 2 of these stops on here just in case the weight of the feeder pushes against one of them or moves one of them, and a 14 hook. I bought myself yesterday at the tackle shop one of these little ground bait mixing, collapsible ground bait mixing things. Not that I've bought any ground bait today because I didn't have any, but the reason I bought it is I keep kicking over my maggots, so I thought if I put them in this little thing, the chance of kicking them over is far less likely. I don't know if you can see here, I'm talking to you, but the camera may not be, you can probably see it now. Yeah, so I thought basically putting them in here, and I've also got a small pot of dendras there as well. That's all I've got to. I did put the cheese paste in, but I'm not sure I'll be using that, but we may give it a try if nothing else works. So this is the idea. Whether it works or not. Oh, I didn't put any on the hook. So busy chatting to you. Filled up the maggot feeder and nothing on the hook. That would have been productive, wouldn't it? If I'd caught fish like that, that would have been a miracle. I know minnows sometimes go for shiny hooks, but I don't think bream will. Alright, let's put a bunch of maggots on. Yeah, this is all, you know, I wanted to come here last week, and it really wasn't possible because the river was, I would have been sitting in water last week. And everything is very muddy and slippery now because it's all been underwater. Be very careful. That's a bunch of red maggots. There's a couple of guys, well, there's a couple of cars here when I arrived. Two of them already left, so they're obviously early starters, early leavers. They leave when I arrive. Right, let's put this out. As I say, I don't want to go much past the end of the tree because there's, unfortunately, the wind's in my face. Yeah, that's about, oh, the trouble is it's gone in the tree. I don't think I've got it out. No, I haven't. Oh, that was bad. That's the wind blowing it into the tree. That's it. I'll bear that in mind next time. I don't know where the feeders ended up. But we'll see what happens. It's very much just seeing what comes along today. If anything. But when I was at the Rookery Waters, I did make the point that when I'm on the river I always feel more positive something's going to come along than when I'm sitting on the lake and nothing happens. I don't know if there's weed out there. I'm going to have to wait and see when I bring the feeder back in, just to see if I get caught up or snagged. There's a couple of other spots down here if this doesn't work out. Well, the line got itself all tangled around the feeder after that first cast where I got caught in a tree, so I've had to unpick all that, and to enable me to do it I had to cut the hook off and retie it, so not a very good start really. First cast, line stuck in the tree. The other thing is I brought in a fair bit of weed with that first cast, so it may be a bit mucky on the bottom out there. We'll see how we go. If I keep bringing in weed, then perhaps I'll shift to another spot where hopefully it won't be quite as weedy. This car park pool is absolutely covered in weed in the summer. It's really is weedy. So finding a clear spot may not be that easy. Right, I've had a move. I had a few casts down there in that first spot, but every time I was bringing in, or I was snagged in weed and bringing in weed. So I had to walk down here with just a rod and the feeder on, and just had a few casts without any bait or anything, just dragged it to see if it caught up in anything, and it didn't. So I thought I'd give this a go. It's not as easy to fish. I can't really sit down there, it's too slippery and that, so I'm way up on the bank, but Yeah, I thought the water's slacker here as well. It was sort of moving through up there a bit still, even on this side of the stream. But yeah, just see how this works out. I'll put some maggots out in a minute. I'll just see what happens with this cast, and I've got maggots in the feeder obviously, but given this water's hardly moving here, I could catapult a few out, put a bit more feed in. I've got some worms as well, so I think I'll stick with this spot. Bit more sheltered here from the wind as well. I had the wind in my face down there, and it's not a very warm wind today. Of course, the irony may be that I've caught bream on a couple of occasions in this car park pool, only single fish, and on both occasions it's because I came here because other parts of the river were really very difficult to fish because of high water. So today I came here planning to fish here and hoping to catch bream, and of course the way things go, I probably won't. Even though I managed it on other occasions when they weren't my target. Let me bring it in and see if it's snagged at all. No, it feels quite clear here, albeit this inside bit is a bit dangerous. Right. Right, let's catapult a few maggots out. Well, change of tack, folks. I've just taken the feeder off. The maggots really weren't escaping the feeder very well. Obviously there's no flow here to wash them through, and the water's probably pretty cold, so they were very lethargic, so they were staying in the feeder. So I thought, well, rather than mucking about having a feeder on, I'll just go to a simple link ledger. I've moved my chair position slightly because I was on a bit of a slope there, and I felt like I was sort of tilting all the time, so I've moved my chair further up the bank so the rod's at a slightly different angle. The only problem is there's a lot of all those sort of small bushes, trees, whatever you like to call them, shrubs, in my eye line. Makes it difficult to focus on the rod top. So we'll see how it goes. I've put a worm on, and a worm with a maggot, just a maggot to hopefully keep the worm on the hook. And I've catapulted out 3 more small cupfuls of maggots into the general area. So let's see what happens. I'm having a cup of coffee. But so far, no interest. Well, just had a very long chat with the bailiff. Yeah, I was sort of keeping half an eye on my rod top all the time, but nothing happened. So he was telling me about the large carp that have been caught in this pool, mainly in the summer obviously, but he said he had one over 20 pound when he was fishing on light tackle. And this pool in the summer is absolutely, well, weed doesn't even begin to describe it, so quite amazing really getting that fish in. What's the time? Oh, I forgot to charge my watch this morning, so it's probably going to run out of battery today. Oh well, never mind. Anyway, it's 12 o'clock. I meant to do it when I got up this morning, but there's so many other things to do, I forgot. Yeah, nothing has shown any interest at all. That worm was out there, I don't know, 20 minutes I suppose when I was chatting. Well, it's 1:15. I'm going to give it to probably 1:30, 2 o'clock at the latest. I haven't had any indication that there are any fish in here at all. I'm sure there are, but they're not interested. And I'm starting to get a bit cold. So give it another 3/4 of an hour at the most, and then I may call it a day. I thought something might be down there, even if it's only little ones. But I've had not a touch. I've just tried a cast nearer the margin, sort of clutching at straws at the moment, I think. I haven't had the slightest indication of any fish, not the slightest. Not a touch. I think after this cast I may call it a day, because I'm not really getting any joy at all, and my hands are now starting to get to the point where I'm sort of feeling I'm a bit numb. Pity really, such a nice winter's day. It would have been nice to at least catch a fish or two, but that's the way it is. I don't know why it's so dead, whether it's the fact we've had all this rain and the water's been up and down like a yo-yo, or whether it's because the temperature was very cold last night. Only a couple of degrees, I should think, above freezing here. So I don't know really. But certainly nothing happening. Well, folks, the idea was good. Find a bit of quiet water when the river's coming down a bit, but it didn't work. Not a touch, not the slightest indication of a bite. Just gone 1 o'clock. I've called it a day. My hands were getting freezing, and it didn't really look like anything was going to change. And my GoPro battery expired, and I was going to get the power pack out for half an hour or so extra, but I decided against it. I thought I'll just accept it for what it is, a difficult day and a blank. Anyway, if you've watched to the end, thank you for that. At least you saw me trying, even if you didn't see any fish. Yeah, and as always, thanks to those of you who sort of like the videos and comment, and of course the subscribers, as always. The forecast for the next week is awful, and it may go past the next week, it may run into the week after, so I'm not quite sure where. Oh, another train. I'm not sure where I'll be going or when. Yeah, it's the only problem with this place. You're right next to the main line, and because there's a level crossing just up the road, all the trains blast their horns when they come through, so apologies for that. But anyway, I'm saying bye for now, and as always, cheers.